think I'm going to start something new, and I'm going to start releasing a weekly update video. It's probably just going to be a simple reading video, and I'm going to probably drink something or eat something while I'm reading, and you can look forward to this probably every Saturday night. I'm probably going to record a couple of them just to make sure I always have one on the ready in case I get really busy again or something. So yeah, look forward to Storytime Saturday night, and yeah, that's what we're going to do tonight. So I have a request to read a portion of Hot Water music by Charles Bukowski. Got the book right here. Book's a little beat up. I got it when I was in school and brought it with me to a lot of my painting classes, so it's a little messy. And I've also got Aloha Series Pipeline. It's a porter, brewed with coffee. And I've got Lumpy Space Princess glass. And so I thought what I would do first is just open up the beer, pour it for you, see how it looks. That's a little loud, sorry. Don't worry, I already have this bottle cap, obviously. Cheers. It's pretty good. It's a little dark. It does have that Kona coffee taste to it. I usually prefer a little bit of a lighter beer, but we had this in the fridge, so I'm going with it. Okay. So, maybe it's time to read something. What do you think? Okay. So, the book we're reading from today is Hot Water Music by Charles Bukowski. It was a request, and I have to warn you before I read this that there is some really adult language. I'm probably going to have to say some awful things, but it'll be fun, and I'm going to try not to laugh. Yeah. So this book was written, I think it was in 1983, right around the same time as Post Office. It uses one of the same characters, Chinaski, every once in a while as a theme. He's just kind of like his character, he's like really gritty, a writer, dirty, lots of alcohol and women and stuff like that. This edition was published in 2002. And there's, I would say, about 220 pages. Larger pages. There's probably 15, 20 short stories. I haven't read all of them. But I'm going to read this one first. It's called Scum Grief. We'll see if it's any good. If it sucks, we'll stop. Gum Grief by Charles Bukowski. The poet Victor Veloff was not a very good poet. He had a local reputation, was liked by the ladies and supported by his wife. He was continually giving readings at local bookstores. He was often heard on the public radio station. He read in a loud and dramatic voice, but the pitch never varied. Victor was always at a climax. That's what attracted the ladies, I guess. Certain of his lines, if taken separately, seemed to have power, but when all the lines were considered as a whole, you knew that Victor was saying nothing, only saying it loudly. But Vicky, like most ladies, easily charmed by fools, insisted upon hearing Veloff read. It was a hot Friday night in a feminist lesbian revolutionary bookshop. No admission. Veloff read for free, and there would be a display of his artwork after the reading. His artwork was very modern. A stroke or two, usually red, and a bit of an epigram in a contrasting color. Some piece of wisdom would be inscribed on it like, "Green heaven, come home to me. I weep gray, 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 gray." Veloff was intelligent. He knew there were two ways to spell gray. Photos of Tim Leary hung about. Impeach Reagan signs. I didn't mind the Impeach Reagan signs. Veloff rose and walked to the platform, a half of bottle of beer in his hand. "Look," said Vicky. "Look at that face. How he has suffered." "Yeah," I said. "And look, now I'm going to suffer." Veloff did have a fairly interesting face compared to most poets, but compared to most poets, almost everyone has. Victor Veloff began, "East of the Suez of my heart begins a buzzing, 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 somber still, still somber, and suddenly summer comes home, straight on through like a quarterback sneak on the 1-yard line of my heart." Victor screamed the last line as he did so somebody near me said, "Beautiful." It was a local feminist poet who had grown tired of blacks and now fucked a Doberman in her bedroom. She had braided red hair, dull eyes, and played a mandolin while she read her work. Most of her work involved something about a dead baby's footprint in the sand. She was married to a doctor who was never around. At least he had the good sense to not attend poetry readings. He gave her a large allowance to support her poetry and to feed the Doberman. Veloff continued, "Docks and ducks and derivative day, ferment behind my forehead in a most unforgiving way. Oh, in a most unforgiving way. I sway through the light and the darkness." "I've got to agree with him there," I told Vicky. "Please be quiet," she answered. "With 1,000 pistols and 1,000 hopes, I step onto the porch of my mind to murder 1,000 popes." I found my half pint, uncapped it, and took a good hit. "Listen," said Vicky, "you always get drunk at these readings. Can't you contain yourself?" "I get drunk at my own readings," I said. "I can't stand my stuff either." "Gummed mercy," Veloff went on. "That's what we are. Gummed mercy. Gummed mercy." "He's going to say something about a raven," I said. "Gummed mercy," continued Veloff, "and the raven forevermore." I laughed. Veloff recognized the laugh. He looked down at me. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "in the audience tonight we have the poet Henry Chinaski." Little hisses were heard. They knew me. Sexist pig. Drunk. Motherfucker. I took another drink. "Please continue, Victor," I said. He did. "Conditioned under the hump of valor, the Erstadt's imminent piddling rectangle is no more than a gene in Genoa, a quadruplet Quetzalcoatl, and the chink cries bittersweet and barbaric into her muff." "It's beautiful," said Vicky. "But what's he talking about?" "He's talking about eating pussy." "I thought so. He's a beautiful man. I hope he goes down on women better than he writes." Grief. Christ, my grief. That scum grief. Stars and stripes of grief. Waterfalls of grief. Tides of grief. Grief at Discount. Everywhere. That's scum grief, I said. I like that. He stopped talking about going down on women. Yes, now he says he doesn't feel good. A baker's dozen, a cousin's cousin, let in the streptomycin, and propitious gorge my gunfallen. I dream the carnival plasma across frantic leather. Now what's he saying? Asked Vicky. He's getting ready to eat pussy again. Again. Victor read some more and I drank some more. Then he called a 10-minute intermission and the audience went up and gathered around the podium. Vicky went up too. It was hot in there, and I walked around the street to cool off. There was a bar a half block away. I got a beer. It wasn't too crowded. There was a basketball game on TV, and I watched the game. Of course, I didn't care who won. My only thought was, my God, how they run up and down, up and down. I bet their jock straps are soaking wet. I'll bet their assholes smell something awful. I had another beer and then walked back to the poetry hall. Valoff was already back on. I could hear him half a block down the street. Choke Columbia and the dead horses of my soul. Greet me at the gates. Greet me sleeping. Historians, see this tenderest's past. Leapt over with geisha dreams, drilled dead with importunity. I found my seat next to Vicky. What's he saying now? She asked me. He's not really saying very much. Basically, what he's saying is that he can't sleep nights. He ought to find a job. He's saying he ought to find a job? No, I'm saying that. The lemming and the falling star are my brothers. The contest of the lake is the El Dorado of my heart. Come take my head, come take my eyes. Will rip me with a lark's bar. Now what's he saying? He's saying he needs a big fat woman to kick the shit out of him. Don't be funny, does he really say that? We both say that. I could eat the emptiness. I could fire cartridges of love into the dark. I could beg India for your recessive mulch. Well, Victor went on and on. One sane person got up and walked out. The remainder of us stayed. I say, drag the dead gods through the crabgrass. I say the palm is lucrative. I say, look, look, look. Around us, all love is ours. All life is ours. The sun is our dog at the end of the leash. There is nothing that can defeat us. Fuck the salmon. We need only reach. We need only drag ourselves out of obvious graves. The earth, the dirt, the plaid hope of looming grafts to our very senses. We have nothing to take and nothing to give, and we need only to begin. Thank you very much, Victor Valoff said, for being here. The applause was very loud. They always applauded. Victor was immense in his glory. He lifted his same bottle of beer. He even managed to blush. Then he grinned. A very human grin. The ladies loved it. I took a last hit on my bottle of whiskey. They were up around Victor. He was giving his autograph and answering questions. His art show would be next. I managed to get Vicky out of there, and we walked along the street back to the car. He reads powerfully, she said. Yes, he has a good voice. What do you think of his work? I think it's pure. I think you're jealous. Let's stop here for a drink, I said. There's a basketball game. All right, she said. We were lucky. The game was still on. We sat down. Oh boy, said Vicky. Look at the long legs on those guys. Now you're talking, I said. What do you have? Scotch and soda. I ordered 2 scotch and sodas and we watched the game. Those guys ran up and down, up and down. Wonderful. They seemed very excited about something. The place was hardly crowded at all. It seemed the best part of the night. So that was that story. Okay, the next story I'm going to read is called The Man Who Loved Elevators. Harry stood in the apartment house driveway, waiting for the elevator to come down. Just as the door opened, he heard a woman's voice behind him. Just a moment, please. She stepped into the elevator and the door closed. She had on a yellow dress. Her hair was piled on top of her head, and goofy pearl earrings swung on long silver chains. She had a large ass and was heavily built. Her breasts and body seemed to be striving to burst out of that yellow dress. Her eyes were the palest green and looked right through him. She carried a bag of groceries with the word Vaughn's printed on it. Her lips were smeared with lipstick. Her thick, painted lips were obscene, almost ugly, an insult. The bright red lipstick glistened, and Harry reached over and pushed the emergency button. It worked. The elevator stopped. Harry moved toward her. With one hand, he lifted her skirt and stared at her legs. She had unbelievable legs, all muscle and flesh. She seemed stricken, frozen. He grabbed her as she dropped the bag of groceries, cans of vegetables, an avocado, toilet paper, packaged meats, and 3 candy bars spilled to the elevator floor. Then his mouth was on those lips. They opened. He reached down and lifted the skirt. He kept his mouth on hers and worked the panties off. Then, standing up, he took her, banging her hard against the elevator wall. When he finished, he zipped up, hit the 3rd floor button, and waited, his back to her. When the elevator door opened, he stepped out. The door closed behind him and the elevator was gone. Harry walked down to his apartment, put the key in, and opened the door. His wife, Rochelle, was in the kitchen cooking dinner. "How'd it go?" she asked. "Same old shit," he said. "Dinner's in 10 minutes, she said. And Harry walked into the bathroom, got out of his things, and took a shower. The job was getting to him. 6 years, and he didn't have a dime in the bank. That's how they hooked you. They gave you just enough to keep alive, but they never gave you enough so you could finally escape. He soaped up good, washed off, and stood there, letting the very hot water run down the back of his neck. It took away the fatigue. He toweled off, put on his robe, walked into the kitchen and sat down at the table. Rochelle was dishing it out. Meatballs and gravy. She made good meatballs and gravy. "Listen," he said. "Give me some good news." "Good news?" "You know, the period?" "Yes. I haven't had it." "Christ. The coffee's not ready." "You always forget." "I know. I don't know what makes me do that." Rochelle sat down and they began eating without the coffee. The meatballs were good. "Harry," she said, "we can get an abortion." "All right," he said. "If it comes to that, we'll do it." The next evening, he got in the elevator and rode alone. He rode to the 3rd floor and got out. Then he turned around, got back in, pushed the button again, rode down to the driveway, got out, walked over to his car, and sat and waited. He saw her coming up the driveway, this time without any groceries. He opened the door. This time she had on a red dress, shorter and tighter fitting than the yellow one. Her hair was down, and it was long. It almost reached her behind. She had on the same goofy earrings, and her lips were more heavily smeared with lipstick than before. As she stepped into the elevator, he followed her. They rose up, and once again he pushed the emergency button. Then he was on her, his lips on that red, obscene mouth. Again, she didn't have on pantyhose, just red knee stockings. Harry worked the panties off and put it in. They banged up against all 4 walls. It lasted longer this time. Then Harry zipped up, turned his back on her, and pushed the 3 button. When he opened the door, Rochelle was singing. She had a terrible voice, so Harry got into the shower in a hurry. He came out in his robe, sat at the table. "Christ," he said. "They laid off 4 guys today. Even Jim Bronson." "That's too bad," said Rochelle. There were steaks and French fries, salad, and hot garlic bread. "Not bad." "You know how long Jim's been there?" "No." 5 years. Rochelle didn't answer. 5 years, said Harry. "They just don't care. Those bastards have no mercy." I didn't forget the coffee this time, Harry. She leaned over and kissed him as she poured the cup. I'm improving, you see. Yeah. She went and sat down. My period started today. What? Is it true? Yes, Harry. That's great. Great. I don't want a kid until you want one, Harry. Rochelle, we ought to celebrate. A good bottle of wine. I'll go get one after dinner. I've already got it, Harry. Harry got up and walked around the table. He stood almost behind Rochelle and tilted her head backward with one hand and kissed her. I love you, baby. They ate dinner. It was a good dinner. And a good bottle of wine. Harry got out of his car as she walked up the driveway. She waited for him, and they got on the elevator together. She had on a blue and white dress, a flower print, white shoes, white ankle socks. Her hair was pulled up over her head again, and she smoked a Benson and Hedges cigarette. Harry pushed the emergency button. Wait a minute, mister. It was the second time he had heard her voice. The voice was a bit hoarse, but it wasn't a bad voice at all. Yes? Asked Harry. What is it? Let's go to my apartment. All right. She pushed the 4 button and they went up. The door opened and they walked down the hall to 404. She unlocked the door. Nice place, said Harry. I like it. Can I get you something to drink? Sure. She walked into the kitchen. I'm Nana, she said. I'm Harry. I know you are, but what's your name? You're funny, said Harry. She came out with 2 drinks and they sat on the couch and drank them. I work at Zodi's Discount, said Nana. I'm a counter girl at Zodi's. That's nice. What the hell's nice about it? I mean, it's nice here that we're together. Really? Sure. Let's go into the bedroom. Harry followed her. Nana finished her drink and set the empty glass on the dresser. She walked into the closet. It was a large closet. She began to sing and removed her clothing. Nana sang better than Rochelle. Harry sat on the edge of the bed and finished his drink. Nana came out of the closet and stretched out on the bed. She was naked. The hair on her cunt was much darker than the hair on her head. Well, she said. Oh, said Harry. He took off his shoes and he took off his stockings. He took off his shirt, his pants, his undershirt, his shorts. Then he got on the bed beside her. She turned her head and he kissed her. Listen, he said. Do we have to have all the lights on? Of course not. Nana got up and switched off the overhead light and the bedside lamp. Harry felt his mouth on her mouth on her mouth on his. Her tongue entered, flicked in and out. Harry climbed on top of her. She was very soft, something like a waterbed. He kissed and licked her breasts, kissed her mouth and her neck. He continued to kiss her for some time. What's the matter? She asked. I don't know, he said. It's not working, is it? No. Harry got off and began dressing in the dark. Nana switched on the bed lamp. What are you? An elevator freak? No. You can only do it in elevators. Is that it? No, you were the first one, really. I don't know what came over me. But I'm here now, Nana said. I know, he said, pulling his pants on. Then he sat down and started putting on his shoes and stockings. Listen, you son of a bitch. Yeah? When you are ready and you want me, you come to my apartment. You understand? Yeah, I understand. Harry was fully dressed and standing again. No more on the elevator. You understand? I understand. If you ever rate me on the elevator again, I'll call the law. That's a promise. Okay. Harry walked out of the bedroom, through the living room, and out the apartment door. He walked down to the elevator and pushed the button. The door opened and he stepped in. The elevator began to descend. There was a petite Oriental woman standing next to him. She had black hair, black skirt, white blouse, pantyhose, tiny feet, high-heeled shoes. She was dark complexioned with just a trace of lipstick. That very small body had an amazing sexy behind. The eyes were brown and very deep and almost looked tired. Harry reached and pushed the emergency button. As he moved toward her, she screamed. He slapped her hard across the face, got out his handkerchief, and forced it into her mouth. He locked one of his arms around her waist as she clawed him across the face with her free hand. He reached down and pulled up her skirt. He liked what he saw. So that was Elevator Freak. Yikes. Okay. And the next one I'm reading is Long Distance Drunk. The phone rang at 3 a.m. Francine got up and answered it and brought the phone to Tony in bed. It was Francine's phone. Tony answered. It was Joanna, long distance, from Frisco. Listen, he said. I told you to never phone me here. Joanna had been drinking. You just shut up and listen to me. You owe me something, Tony. Tony exhaled slowly. Okay, go ahead. How's Francine? Nice of you to ask. She's fine. We're both fine. We were asleep. Well, anyhow, I got hungry and went for pizza. I went to a pizza parlor. Yeah. You got something against pizza? Pizza is garbage. Ah, you don't know what's good. Anyhow, I just sat down in the best pizza parlor and ordered special pizza. Give me the very best. I told them. I sat there and they brought it and said $18. They couldn't pay $18. They laughed and went away and I began to eat the pizza. How are your sisters? I don't live with them anymore. They both ran me out. It was one of those long-distance phone calls to you. Some of the phone bills ran over $200. I've told you to stop phoning. Shut up. It's my way of letting myself down easy. You owe me something. Alright, go ahead. Well, anyhow, I got to eating the pizza and wondering how I was going to pay for it. Then I got dry. I needed a beer, so I took the pizza to the bar and ordered a beer. I drank that and ate some of the pizza, and then I noticed a tall Texan standing next to me. He must have been 7 feet tall. He bought me a beer. He was playing music on the jukebox, and it was country western. It was a country western place. You don't like country western music, do you? It's pizza I dislike. Anyhow, I gave the tall Texan some of my pizza, and he bought me another beer. We kept drinking beer and eating pizza until the pizza was finished. He paid for the pizza, and we went to another bar, country western again. We danced. He was a good dancer. We drank and kept hitting country western bars. Every bar we went to was country western. We drank beer and danced. He was a great dancer. Yes. Finally, we got hungry again, and we went to a drive-in for hamburger. We ate our hamburgers, and suddenly he leaned over and kissed me. It was a hot kiss. Wow. Oh? I told him, hell, let's go to a motel. And he said, no, let's go to my place. And I said, no, I want to go to a motel. But he insisted on going to his place. Was there a wife? No, his wife was in prison. She'd shot and killed one of their daughters, a 17-year-old. I see. Well, he had one daughter left. She was 16, and he introduced me to his daughter. And then we went into his bedroom. Do I have to listen to the details? Let me talk. I'm paying for this call. I paid for all of these calls. You owe me something. You listen to me. Well, go ahead. Well, we got into the bedroom and stripped down. He was really hung, but his pecker looked terribly blue. It's when the balls are blue and there's trouble. Anyhow, we climbed into bed and played around, but there was a problem. Too drunk? Yeah, but mostly it was that he only got hot when his daughter came into the room or made a noise like coughing or flushing the toilet. Any glimpse or sign of his daughter would turn him on. He'd get really hot. I understand. Do you? Yes. Anyhow, in the morning he told me that I had a home for life if I wanted it, plus a $300 a week allowance. He has a very nice place, 2 1/2 bedrooms, 3 or 4 TV sets, a bookcase full of books, Pearl Buck, Agatha Christie, Shakespeare, Proust, Hemingway, the Harvard Classics, hundreds of cookbooks, and the Bible. He has 2 dogs, a cat, 3 cars. Yeah? That's all I wanted to tell you. Goodbye. Joanna hung up. Tony put the receiver back in the cradle, then set the phone on the floor. Tony stretched out. He hoped Francine was asleep. She wasn't. What did she want? She asked. She told me a story about a man who fucked his daughters. Why? Why would she tell you that? I suppose she thought I'd be interested, plus the fact that she fucked him too. Are you? Not really. Francine turned over to him and he slipped his arm around her. 3 a.m. drunks all over America were staring at the walls, having finally given it up. You didn't have to be a drunk to get hurt, to be zeroed out by a woman, but you could get hurt and become a drunk. You might think for a while, especially when you were young, that luck was with you, and sometimes it was. But there were all manner of averages and laws working that you knew nothing about, even as you imagined things were going well. Some night, some hot summer Thursday night, you became the drunk. You were out there, alone in a cheap rented room, and no matter how many times you'd been out there before, it was no help. It was even worse because you had got to thinking that you wouldn't have to face it again. All you could do was light another cigarette, pour another drink, check the peeling walls for lips and eyes. What men and women did to each other was beyond comprehension. Tony drew Francine closer to him, pressed his body quietly against hers, and listened to her breathe. It was horrible to have to be serious about shit like this once again. Los Angeles was so strange. He listened. The birds were already up, chirping, yet it was pitch dark. Soon the people would be heading for the freeways. You'd hear the freeways hum, plus cars starting everywhere on the streets. Meanwhile, the 3 a.m. drunks of the world would lay in their beds, trying in vain to sleep, and deserving that rest, if they could find it. I've got just a little bit of beer left. So we've got time for one more story. How to get published. Having been an underground writer for all of my life, I've known some strange editors, but the strangest of them all was H.R. McCulloch and his wife Honeysuckle. McCulloch, ex-con and ex-diamond thief, was the editor of the magazine Demise. I began to send him poetry, and a correspondence ensued. He claimed my poetry had ruined him for everybody else's poetry, and I wrote back and said that it had ruined me for everyone else's poetry too. HR began talking about the possibilities of putting out a book of my poems, and I said, okay, fine, go ahead. He wrote back, I can't pay royalties, we're as poor as a church mouse. I wrote back, okay, fine, forget royalties. I'm as poor as a church mouse's shriveled titty. He replied, wait a minute, most writers, well, I meet them, and they're complete assholes and horrible human beings. I wrote back, you're right. I'm an asshole and a horrible human being. Okay, he answered. Me and Honeysuckle are coming to LA to check you out. The phone rang a week and a half later. They were in town, just in from New Orleans, staying in a 3rd Street hotel filled with prostitutes, winos, pickpockets, second-story men, dishwashers, muggers, stranglers, and rapists. McCulloch loved the low life, and I think he even loved poverty. From his letters, I got the idea that HR believed that poverty bred purity. Of course, that's what the rich have always wanted us to believe, but that's another story. I got into the car with Marie, and we drove on down for a stopping for 3 6-packs and a cheap 5th of whiskey. There was a little gray-haired man about 5 feet tall standing outside. He was dressed in working man's blues, but with a bandana, white, about his throat. On his head he wore a very tall white sombrero. Marie and I walked up. He was puffing on a cigarette and smiling. You Chinaski? Gosh. Yeah, I said. And this is Marie, my woman. No man, he answered, can ever call a woman his own. We never own 'em. We only borrow 'em for a little while. Yeah, I said, I guess that's best. We followed HR up the stairway down a hall painted blue and red that smelled of murder. Only hotel in town we could find that would take the dogs, a parrot, and the two of us. Looks like a nice place, I said. He opened his door and we walked in. There were two dogs in there running around, and Honeysuckle was standing in the center of the room with a parrot on her shoulder. Thomas Wolfe, said the parrot, is the world's greatest living writer. Wolfe's dead, I said. Your parrot's wrong. That's an old parrot, said HR. We've had him for a long time. How long have you been with Honeysuckle? 30 years. Just borrowed her for a while? That's the way it seems. The dogs ran around and Honeysuckle stood in the center of the room with the parrot on her shoulder. She looked dark, Italian or Greek, very skinny with pouches under her eyes. She looked tragic and kind and dangerous, mostly tragic. I put the whiskey and the beer on the table and everyone moved toward it. HR began ripping off beer caps and I started peeling the whiskey. Dusty drinking glasses appeared along with several ashtrays. Through the wall to the left, a male voice suddenly boomed, "You fucking whore, I want you to eat my shit." We sat down and I splashed the whiskey around. HR passed me a cigar. I peeled it, bit off the end, and lit it up. What do you think of modern literature? HR asked me. I don't really care for it. HR narrowed his eyes and grinned at me. I thought so. Listen, I said, why don't you take off that sombrero so I can see who I'm dealing with? You might be a horse thief. No, he said, sweeping the sombrero off with a dramatic gesture, but I was one of the best diamond thieves in the state of Ohio. Is that so? It is. The girls were drinking away. I just love my dogs, said Honeysuckle. Do you love dogs? She asked me. I don't know if I love them or not. He loves himself, said Marie. Marie has a very penetrating mind, I say. I like the way you write, said HR. You can say a lot without getting fancy. Genius might be the ability to say profound things in a simple way. What's that? HR asked. I repeated the statement and splashed more whiskey around. You gotta write that down, said HR. He pulled a pen from his pocket and wrote it down on the edge of one of the brown paper bags laying on the table. The parrot climbed off Honeysuckle's shoulder, walked across the table, and climbed on my left shoulder. That's nice, said Honeysuckle. James Thurber, said the bird, is the world's greatest living writer. Dumb bastard, I said to the bird. I felt a sharp pain in my left ear. The bird had almost torn it off. We're all such sensitive creatures. HR ripped off more beer caps. We drank on. Afternoon became evening, and evening became night. I awakened in the dark. I had been sleeping on the rug in the center of the floor. HR and Honeysuckle were asleep in bed. Marie was asleep on the couch. All three of them snored, especially Marie. I got up and sat at the table. There was some whiskey left. I poured it and drank a warm beer. I sat there and drank some more warm beer. The parrot sat on the back of the chair across from me. Suddenly he climbed down and walked across the table between the ashtrays and empty bottles and climbed up on my shoulder. Don't say that thing, I told him. It's very irritating to me when you say that thing. Fucking whore, said the parrot. I lifted the bird by its feet and placed him back on the chair. Then I got back down on the rug and went to sleep. In the morning, H.R. McCulloch made an announcement. I've decided to print a book of your poems. We might as well go home and get to work. You mean you realized I'm not a horrible human being? No, said HR. I didn't realize that at all, but I've decided to ignore my better judgment and print you anyhow. Were you really the best diamond thief in the state of Ohio? Oh, yes. I know you did time. How'd you get caught? It was so stupid I don't want to talk about it. I went down and got a couple more six-packs and came back, and Marie and I helped HR and Honeysuckle pack. There were special carrying cases for the dogs and the parrot. We got everything down to the stairway and into my car. Then we sat and finished the beer. We were all pros. Nobody was foolish enough to suggest breakfast. You come out and see us now, said HR. We're going to be putting the book together. You're a son of a bitch, but a man can talk to you. Those other poets, they're always flaunting their feathers and putting on a dumb asshole act. You're okay, said Honeysuckle. The dogs like you. And the parrot, said HR. The girls stayed in the car and I went back with HR while he turned in his key. An old woman in a green kimono, her hair dyed a bright red, opened the door. This is Mama Stafford, HR said to me. Mama Stafford, this is the world's greatest living poet. Really? Asked Mama. The world's greatest living poet, I said. Why don't you boys come in for a drink? You look like you could use one. We went in and each of us forced down a glass of warm white wine. We said goodbye and went back to the car. At the train station, HR got the tickets and checked in the parrot and the dogs at the baggage counter. Then he came back and sat down with us. I hate flying, he said. I'm terrified of flying. I went and got us a half pint and we passed it around waiting. Then he started loading the train. We stood around on the platform. Suddenly Honeysuckle leaped and kissed me. Gave me a long kiss. Toward the end of the kiss, she passed her tongue rapidly in and out of my mouth. I stood and lit a cigar while Marie kissed HR. Then HR and Honeysuckle climbed into the train. He's a nice man, said Marie. Sweetie, I said, I think you gave him rocks. Are you jealous? I'm always jealous. Look, they're sitting at the window. They're smiling at us. It's embarrassing. I wish the fucking train would pull out. Finally, the train did begin to pull out. We waved, of course, and they waved back. HR had a pleased and happy grin. Honeysuckle seemed to be crying. She looked quite tragic. Then we couldn't see them anymore. It was over. I was about to be published. Selected poems. We turned and walked back through the train station. So that's hot water music for you. I hope you enjoyed the first reading session. I'm hoping to get a bunch of these done and release them every Saturday night so you can relax with some stories. And if you're so inspired, you can crack a drink with me as well. So I hope you enjoyed. If you have a request for a future edition of this video project, feel free to sound off in the comments. Okay? Thanks.